We're so proud to have ASL interpreters tonight and hope we're able to do that consistently. And we got to tour the Oklahoma School for the Deaf the other day, and I asked them, do you accept bad sign language? Because I know just a few, 2 or 3 signs, and they were like, absolutely, anytime. So we learn as we go. Senator Mark Mann, who represents Oklahoma City and Del City. And we have Senator Mary Brown Boren from Norman. And we're proud to work with the Oklahoma House Democrats. And so I want to introduce Representative Suzanne Schreiber from Tulsa.
So that we can get to your testimony, we will be brief. You guys listen to us talk enough, but the House Democrats are elated to see all of you here. This is how we get our bill ideas. And so glad to see you in this building. And when you're leaving, look at some of the beautiful art. It really is a beautiful place, and it's your house. So welcome. I want to make sure that you see Representative Michelle McCain over here from Tulsa. We also have Representative Arturo Alonso Sandoval here with us. Also, Oklahoma City, Representative Andy Fugate from Del City. Did I miss any legislators? Oh, Representative Pogomiller, Ellen Pogomiller is here. Also, Oklahoma City. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you so much. Some members were kind enough to come even though they have other events to get to. One of our goals is to let anyone who wants to speak. So this is a little bit of an open-ended end time, which is unusual for me as normally a big planner. So if you really want to speak, we want to hear from you. So we have sign-up sheets if you haven't signed up yet and you really want to speak. If you get inspired later, that's fine. You don't have to sign up in advance. But we're so proud. First of all, we've been trying at these events to spend a little bit of time talking about processes so that if you're up here for the first time, we want to go through a little bit about how things happen in this building. So we're very proud to have Matriarch helping us with talking about the build process in here. We thought it'd be better to have them speak than to have us give you more of our opinion because frankly, most of the time legislators are the main people that get the opportunity to have the mic. So we're proud. Recorded? Okay, so he's gonna be on the screen. Oh, thank you. We are recording this to put on YouTube. If you have any concerns about that, just let us know. But otherwise, we're putting it on YouTube. We're not going to do a big profile out of it. But some people really wanted to have their testimony, and so we're recording the feed of it. We really think that face-to-face is important, especially in this day and age. So that's why we're emphasizing in person. We do thankfully have some people that are going to testify online because they just aren't able to get in this building or they have transportation issues. So, I mean, that's a possibility, but we wanted to emphasize face-to-face because I just think we don't have enough of that nowadays. Plus this building, I mean, come on, it's a great building. So I want to bring up right now our matriarch representative. I didn't get to meet them yet. There he is. Okay, come on up.
Right. All right. First of all, I'd like to thank legislative Democrats for asking Matriarch and myself to come and talk to you all about the legislative process. It is my favorite of all the processes. I love it. It's gonna be a lot of fun to get to talk about. Then also, I just want to say too, thank you to the people that are here and the citizens of Oklahoma, because this is the process as well, and this is how we make this state great and actually make us a top 10 state. So thank you for being here and taking time to make your voices heard. So we are Matriarch, and we are a research and data policy think tank based out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. So if you're unsure, that one's me, Eric, and I'm the policy and legislative analyst. So to start off, this is our tracker called the pink one. It is what we use to track the 1 to 200 bills that we track every session related to women's health. And that could be contraception, that could be paid family leave, workforce, anything that is even tangentially related, we track it. It was dubbed the pink one by a lawmaker, and that is you can find it on our website. If you scan the QR code, it should take you to it. So, how a bill becomes a law. I promise I won't sing and I didn't come in costume. So, the way a bill becomes a law is it is at first introduced, and this is starting here in the House. So it's introduced in the House of Representatives and read on the floor, and the Speaker will then take it and determine if it is, and it's going to be one of 3,000 bills introduced, right? Because we have thousands of bills introduced every session. And so it's introduced, it's read on the floor, and the Speaker then decides what committee it's going to go to. And so a committee, as we can see, is just a smaller group of our lawmakers that are part of that will make a decision on if that bill will get out of there, and they're the first step, they're the first hurdle to becoming a law. And so once the Speaker assigns the bill to committee, it then the chair or the leader of said committee gets to decide if that bill is going to get heard. Just because it goes to committee doesn't mean it's going to get heard. And the way it gets heard is the chair puts it on the calendar, they set the date, and you can look the calendar up on the website for the Senate and the House, and you can watch them and live stream them and come in person. So they set a date, it gets heard. So the committee debates it, they talk about it, they take questions, and then they vote yes pass or no pass, a yes or no vote. And if it doesn't pass, it is stuck there, which can, depending on the session you're in, which we'll get into, you can have holdovers, rollover bills, or it's dead. Nope. Wait. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, so, okay, so one thing, I think my next slide anyway was talking about, it kind of dives into what the legislature is, because we have in our legislature, because we have 2 sessions in between elections, we have rollover bills. And so the process there is, you start with your elections every 2 years, they get elected, they get sworn in, they come here, they file their bills, and then if a bill gets stuck, there are multiple portions where it can get stuck at, but let's say for this, it gets stuck in committee. If we're in session 1, which was session 1 was last year, we're in session 2 of the 60th, we're about to start session 2 of the 60th legislature. If a bill was introduced in session 1 and didn't get a vote in the committee, it just didn't get a hearing, it is not dead, it is dormant, and it can be brought up again by the lawmaker in that same spot. And so you've got session 1, which was the last session. So any bills that didn't get voted down, they are dormant and can be picked up again in that same spot for session 2. Now, if a bill doesn't get a vote during session 2, it's just dead. So we're going to have bills from session 1 that are still that are dormant that might get picked up and continued from the process they're on to see if they can get a hearing, see if they can go to get a full vote and become law. If they don't this session, they're dead, and they have to be reintroduced in session 1 of the 61st legislature, which will be next year. So, and then, yeah, it starts all over, and that's kind of just the process there of the legislature. So I believe it was last session, was the first session the House has a oversight committee that bills go to. So after they go out of what's kind of a policy committee, they move into this oversight committee, which also has a chair, and it can also get stuck there. And so there's a chair there that puts it on the calendar if the chair wanted to have a hearing. And this is the oversight committee is made up of members that are maybe on the policy committees, and then some members that aren't on the committees that oversight committee is under. and they put it on there. It's just another step, another way to debate and talk about the bill to make sure it's a good enough bill to become law. It's supposed to be there to just another way to scrutinize the bill to make sure it's the correct bill for the state. And so it gets put on there. They have their debates, their discussions, their hearing, and then it passes there with a simple yes pass, no pass, a yay vote, yay nay vote. So real quick, because I said earlier we get so many bills that are introduced during session or the beginning of session that they have deadlines for each checkpoint. That way they keep this process moving because our session's only 4 months long and they have a lot of work to do in that time period. And so, bills are filed here in December and January, and then when the legislative session starts, it begins in February. And then as we were talking about with the committee, the deadline in late February is they've got to be out of committee in the chamber of origin. So in the House, if it was introduced in the House, it's got to be out of committee. Got to be out of committee in the House. And if it's not this session, it would be dead. If it was session 1, it would be dormant. So that's kind of just the basics. And then there are different timelines, or during the timeline, different dates where things have to be completed for the bill to move on. And that's just a way to keep it organized because they wouldn't get through all their work if they didn't have some sort of organization in 4 months. So next, after it passes the Oversight Committee, it goes back to the main chamber. So it goes back to what would be the House floor. And the Speaker of the House then decides if this bill is going to get on the floor for debate and vote. It doesn't have to. This is another spot where this bill can get stuck. This is a theme. Bills can get stuck at any spot. It's very difficult for a bill to get through the process completely. And so the Speaker, in this instance, decides, hey, we're gonna put this on the calendar and we're gonna have a floor vote and a debate. And so what happens is it goes to the House of Representatives floor in this case, and the House of Representatives debates the bill. They talk about it. They scrutinize it. They try to get people to vote for it. They try to sway them, make their case for the bill, why it should be law, and then they hold their vote. And then it's a simple, they got yes no vote, and if it gets voted yes, then it becomes engrossed, which just means I'm not sure if anybody actually knows what the word engrossed means, but it just means if in this instance done on this side. Yeah. So it's done on this side, and then it goes over to the Senate, and essentially the whole process starts again. It goes over to the Senate. The Senate pro tempore the Senate leader decides if that bill is going to go to committee, decides what committee it goes to. The committee then, on the Senate side, schedules it, has the vote, and then sends it to the full. And so the Senate, the one difference is they only have one committee. They don't have an oversight committee. So there's one less obstacle there. But then the Senate will send it to, the Senate, if they voted out a policy, the policy committee will go to the floor. The floor has their debate, their discussion to decide if that bill is going to become a law. They have a vote. And then if the Senate votes to make the bill a law, it goes to the governor. And the governor then signs the bill and makes it a law, or there's the option for him to veto the bill, which then goes back to the House and Senate, and they decide with a 2/3 majority vote in each the House and the Senate if they're going to make that bill, they're going to override the veto. There is if it's a majority, I can't remember the exact number if it's an emergency clause, but it's a little higher. 75. Thank you. 3/4 if there's an emergency clause, which would mean the bill would start immediately upon passage. And so in this case, the governor signed it. We got through this no problem, right? The bill didn't get hung up anywhere, and it is now approved. And it is a law that, depending on if there's an emergency clause, starts automatically. If there's a date that it starts, so we just had a bunch that started at the beginning of the month, then it'll go into effect then, or it's 90 days after session ends. So 90 days after the end of May. That's all I got. Just want to say thank you again for allowing me to come up here and do this. And thank you all very much.
Thank you so much to Eric and to Matriarch. See, I think if one of us had done that probably would have taken us 45 minutes, probably, right? Because we'd have all sidebars going and too much. Thank you. Matriarch, I'm a very visual person, and their graphics actually help me understand the process better. So if you're a visual person, go on their website to learn more. So we do have folks on Teams, which is one of the reasons you're hearing that's dinging. We're so grateful they're there. I just want to say that one of our goals in we have all sorts of different interests in this room. In fact, I don't even know what all interests we have, but some of these folks I know because they've come up here and advocated before, or I've heard them speaking. Some people are connected to advocacy organizations. And I just want to say, find your allies, find connections, because nothing happens alone up here. And I think that we will hear connections between the issues and things we want to work on. But I just think that's one of the most important things is we might come up with an idea, or I might get an idea from a constituent. But for that to turn into law, we have to have at least 25 senators vote on it. We have to have 51 House members vote on it, and the governor sign it, or the whole veto override. So that's a whole lot of people that have to agree and have to work together, right? And so it involves a lot of allies to get things through this side. And ideas do come from history, they come from staff, they come from agency, they come from lobbyists. But I think more and more we need to hear from communities about what are the biggest problems you're facing, what do you think needs to be solved. So I appreciate those of you all who came and are willing to share. And those of you who are here to listen, it's great. I think we can find common ground. Just a few rules so you know. Elizabeth will, once she's done playing IT woman, she will be over here with the timekeeping. She will be trying to help people keep on track with our 3-minute time limit. So she will hold up a 30-second and a time. We won't pull out the gong unless you really go over, but just know there's a lot of people that want to speak. So we ask you not to, I know sometimes we get long. I just want to tell you that I know this is a little bit of an intimidating room. If you haven't spoken in a room like this before, I understand that. Just take a breath, and like, your voice matters as much in this building as do us as elected officials. It does. Just because you don't get on the mic as much doesn't mean your voice matters any less and your story matters. And I think our budget hearing last month was very impactful because of the personal stories that connected to the dollars that we are spending of taxpayer money that are about our priorities as a state. And so I'm excited to hear what you all have brought tonight. If you have ideas and you want legislators to talk more about them, we can follow up afterwards. I hope you'll connect with each other. There's some amazing organizations like Matriarch, like Together Oklahoma, who are trying to connect advocates to work together. So if you need help with that, we're glad to connect you. Elizabeth, are we going to Teams first? Teresa Stewart, thank you for being here. I hope you can hear us, and I will confirm I can hear you once you get started.
Can you hear me, Senator Kurt?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Teresa. Go ahead.
Hey, thank you so much for inviting me. This is so my heart. So I'm just going to kind of read my notes because I know I don't have a lot of time and I bullet pointed a lot of things, but I have such a heart for advocacy. I'm on the Oklahoma Cancer Comprehensive Network in the SHIP teams. I'm also on the Aging Our Way in Oklahoma and some other areas. I just did a podcast with Cancer Care and National Alliance of Caregivers. So I have a real heart for exactly what you're talking about. I'm going to start with a question, and no one has to answer this, but I want to ask this to our senators. What keeps you up at night? What are your family's worries or concerns? Can you even pay for things like car repairs, food, and house help, or home repairs? Are you a caregiver, or have you been a caregiver? Our story started with Wake Up Mark. I think he has leukemia at night. It was at midnight when our doctor called us and woke us up. I have been in the YMCA Youth in Government program writing legislative bills as a teen, and now I'm 61 and I caregive for 6 different family members. So things that are important to me that I saw there was no advocacy in, and even if you call 211, things that we needed, there's no legislative laws for yet. So I have such a heart for this. I'm going to bring up things like little bullet points like the married rule when 2 seniors are going through disability, and now you make less than what the 2 of you made one of you made before. My husband unfortunately was laid off 2 years into treatment with leukemia, most likely was exposed to benzene on his job, unfortunately. And so the married rule, I know that is a national rule, but none of our extra help in our local Oklahoma government takes that into consideration. Let's say we need broadband help as a cancer family because my husband has leukemia. He's in active treatment for 14 years still. Had kidney cancer 2020 and rare disease Cushing's tumor removal 2 years ago. So as two seniors dealing with being on disability or aging out of disability and the financial toxicity of cancer, no savings left. We fall in a donut hole that no one is looking at. And in the future, I would like to have more conversations with you guys. The 3 bullet points to me are broadband. I would like to see some broadband for seniors with cancer. I would like to see some property tax help for our seniors with cancer. If we can get, this is my point to the senators, if we can get help for a veteran on full disability for property tax, then a human being on Social Security disability with cancer, thank you, Elizabeth, should be able to get that same help. I'd like you guys to take that into consideration in your bills. I'd like to talk more about property tax with bills with cancer families. The last part is caregiving. The $2,000 tax credit does not help two seniors on disability income because guess what? They don't pay taxes. They don't make enough. So those are my 3 points: is broadband, property tax, and caregiving. We need more help in those areas. And I would so appreciate you guys taking those into consideration and would like to speak to you further on those in the future. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, and the senators for hearing my story.
Thank you much, Teresa. There's a lot of applause here. I'm not sure if that comes through the mic adequately, but I so appreciate you presenting. And I know we were able to hear you very well, and I think your perspective is important. Do we have another person online, Elizabeth? No, we don't. Okay. All right. Well, the next person up is Nadine Lewis. Nadine, if you'll come on up. Nadine has a lot of experience in this building, so I'm proud to introduce her.
Thank you, Julia, Representative, and everybody else here, in particular, Carrie Bloomberg. I know a lot of people in the legislative arena due to the fact I'm on the chair of the chair of the Oklahoma Veterans Council, but I'm not here for the veterans today. I'm here for people living with mental illness. And we need to focus on that. I belong to Oasis Clubhouse, and there's another clubhouse that's also represented here today too, I'm sure, and that's Thunderbird. What I wanted to talk about was we need more support. Thunderbird and Oasis Clubhouse help us during the day. But what happens at night? What happens when we have mentally ill, homeless people who can't be supervised by their loved ones because they don't have any? We need to create, in my opinion, we need to create places of living at different stages for what they need and offer supervision for medication and how to help to get jobs. And we need to look at how to support them in every way, not just during the day at Oasis Clubhouse, but get them employed and get them the help that they need so that they can do that. Thank you for letting me testify.
Thank you, Nadine. Bill Bullock. Bill, if you'll come on up. Thank you for being here.
My name is Bill Bullock, and I left my notes over there. Yeah, sure. I am a long-term member of Thunderbird Clubhouse, and I'm a founding member and a founding board member of Oasis Clubhouse. And I'm here to advocate for increased funding for those Clubhouse programs. The good news is it will save you money and make you money. I am an excellent example of that. Before I became a member, or was eligible to become a member, I was a special education teacher for about 10 years. When I had to, go special ed. When I had to stop and went to the hospital and I got back out, I was doing okay, but I needed purpose. I needed to matter. And I found that at Thunderbird Clubhouse. And then I had the opportunity to spread that on to Oasis Clubhouse up in Edmond. But once I was able to go back to work, I didn't need to be on disability anymore. That saves money. It makes money because now I am spending my salary and I'm paying taxes. All of this happens because of the support I have received from the Clubhouse program. The money that you put into Clubhouse brings back dollars to the community. What is the impact of 10 years of a special education's teacher on a community? I'm not good with numbers, but the lowest estimate I got was $10 million. You don't have to reach everyone. If you can reach 5 or 6 out of 300, you make money. Spend the money, make some money. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Bill. I'm pleased to introduce Mariah Norman. Mariah, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me and for this opportunity. I hope you don't mind. I'm going to read off my phone. Super fancy. My name's Mariah Norman, and I am a survivor of rape. HB 2233, authored by the amazing Cindy Munson, was passed over last session. I want to give one example of why that bill is so important. I was raped by a massage therapist. I went to the Board of Cosmetology to have his license revoked while the criminal case proceeded. In order to get his license revoked, I had to go to a hearing to testify to have his license taken away. Unfortunately, he represented himself, and I had to endure being cross-examined by him for a massage license. The Board of Cosmetology has no business being over massage therapy. That is not their training. Please push to revisit this bill. I would like to see a bill that enforces victims' rights. Victims are afforded certain rights under the Victims' Bill of Rights. However, they are not enforceable. When a victim's rights are violated, there is no one to appeal to. There is no incentive for law enforcement or DAs to abide by these laws because there is no recourse if they choose to not honor them. If a defendant's rights are violated, the entire case can be thrown out. If a victim's rights are violated, there's nothing. In my situation at Oklahoma County, when I fought for my rights to be enforced, I became public enemy number one. And it put me in a situation where I had to choose to either fight for my rights or to put my rapist away. I chose to put the bad guy away to protect my community. No victim should ever be in a position where they have to choose. I would love to see victims have a form of Mirandizing in their first interactions with law enforcement and district attorneys. This is supposed to be taking place, but it does not. I am shocked by the amount of victims I have met that haven't heard of victims' rights, and this should not be the case. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mariah. Thomas Holmes? Thomas? While you're coming up, I just want to say, you'll see one of the slides you'll see popping through here is we asked Senate Democrats just to tell some of the legislative subjects they're working on, and we just want to give people a sense of some of the various topics that we're working on laws on. Come on up. Absolutely.
Since you said you're visual, I'll give you a copy of my notes. And I have copies for the other representative senators that are here too. So if you'll let me know, I'll be glad to share those with you. My name is Thomas Holmes. Can my time start now? I'm from Sparks, Oklahoma, which is in the eastern part of the state. It took a little while to get here. I live on the 80 acres that my grandmother grew up on. Those are your copies there. That farm has been in our family since 1919. And I'm glad that Senator Mary Boren is here today. I met with her this spring and discussed some of these issues with her earlier. So I'm glad that she's here. I want to say a few words about the interim studies that y'all have been conducting, and I think that's excellent. I've attended a few of those. I want to thank you for gathering data so that you can make data-driven decisions. I think that's a very important thing for any of us to do in business, in the state, or whatever. And so I attended several of those interim studies and I learned some new information, and that's what I want to share with you. The topic I want to talk about is not necessarily new, but the data is, and it was presented at these interim studies. And I don't know how you guys keep up with all of those. I mean, there's seems like hundreds of them almost, but there were a few key bullet points that I wanted to share with you. And like I say, the topic's not new, but the data is. The first item that I want to mention to you is that there was a safety data sheet passed out about wind turbines, and when lightning strikes, how close can you safely be to that wind turbine? And this is the manual from a manufacturer describing, and we had a hard time getting a hold of this. It took a Freedom of Information Act request to get this done because they don't want this information out there. It says that you can, if you're within 1 kilometer of that tower, you could be struck by lightning or have affected by it. 1 kilometer is 3,280 feet. So that's an important piece of data. There have been a lot of talk about wind turbines. No bills were passed this year. I imagine they'll be discussed again this next year. But that's a piece of data that was never mentioned. Everybody says, oh, I think a quarter mile's far enough. I think a half mile's far enough. Some people said 3 miles. Well, the manufacturer says during a lightning storm, stay 1 kilometer away. That's 3,280 feet. That ought to be factored into the decision somewhere, in my opinion. The next item I want to quickly mention is there's been a lot of talk about how that wind farms, solar farms, they're in agricultural areas, so there's no zoning for them. That's simply not true. There are current on the books in Oklahoma regulations that require setbacks. If you want to have a cattle feeding lot, if you want to have a hog feeding lot, it's 1 mile for each of those. You can't put those within 1 mile of a house. A hog feeding lot and a cattle feeding lot. There are a few of them around, not hundreds, but there are some. Also even chicken houses. They have to be 1.5 miles away. And then there's regulations on how close they can be to creeks. So for us to sit here and say that we can't regulate wind turbines or solar farms is not accurate. The state of Oklahoma has done that. My time's up, and I had plenty of other things I wanted to say. So if there's time later, I'll be glad to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Nia Springs. Thank you for coming. Thomas hit on one of the hot issues in the Capitol right now. Learn about it if you don't already know. Come on up. Hi, thanks for coming again.
Yes, I'm Nia Spriggs, and I am the owner and founder of IBLA Learning, IBLA Academy. And I brought my students here. They have been asking me to speak, and so they actually have a few words to say. I was actually supposed to speak after them, so this is going to be a little odd, but that's okay. I brought them here, and we all hear them. I want to just say that I know that there's a lot of conversations right now at the Capitol about education. And I really want to say, after you hear them speak, you'll understand what I am saying. This is really addition and subtraction. It is not calculus. We have turned improving education and quality education into calculus, but this is really not a calculus situation. Most of these children have only been with me for 2 years or less. Most of them, none of them are wealthy. None of them have, we have some immigrant families whose parents do not speak English. And a parent actually said to me last night, I really want to make sure this was heard. She said to me, because there's a lot of conversations about parents and parents need to do more, parents need to do more. And I'm not saying that we can do this without parents. That's not what I'm here to tell you. But a parent said to me last night that when she grew up, her grandparents were illiterate. And everything she really needed to know, she learned at school. And it really made me think, because my mom taught me how to write my name, yes, but my mom was not my teacher. My teachers were my teachers. And, did she make sure I did my homework at night? Yes. But it was not like they expected my mom to teach me algebra, and she does not go to one of the school districts that we would consider to be like some of the less performing school districts. She's in a high performing school district, and she brought her daughter to me for tutoring last night because her daughter was 7 years old and could not read at all. I'm talking about like the cat, hat. Could not read those words. And so they were desperate, and they drove for more to Oklahoma City for tutoring. And so what we do really works. I hope that we have a conversation to actually talk. I think we've spoke about it before about the transparency and education bill. I really hope to see that pass. But the education reforms that we are talking about this year, I feel like we're almost at 2013 again, and that they are somewhat haphazardly. So we're talking about the third grade reading gate. We're talking about additional time. What are we going to do with that time? We're talking about schools. We're basically at least 2 years, but probably 10 years from the country talking about the science of reading. But we're at least 2 years from talking about it here. And I've attended several board meetings, school board meetings, and in all cases, none of them really had a plan still as to what they're going to do to get their children actually reading to grade level. So while the third grade reading gate, I really think it's great. I think it's something that we need to have, but we have to have a plan as to how we're going to do this, and we have to roll it out so it is not haphazardly, and we don't end up in a situation like 2013 where we're having to roll back legislation. So I hope to see, I'll be in the both chambers this session talking about education. Everybody knows me as the crazy education lady. So I want to thank you, and I hope that we can actually get some bills passed this session.
Can I intro from here? So I'm not running back and forth and getting in the way? Okay, perfect. I think we got your students up next. Jake? Is it Tao? Jake? Oh, Jake, he's not with your, excuse me, you're not a student of hers. I apologize. Come on up, Jake.
Hello. Could somebody hold this cable?
You can sit behind the desk.
Hello. My name is Jacob Tao. I'd like to thank you first off for allowing us to do this. It's very important to the state of Oklahoma that you allow people to express their opinions and these things that we would like to see. And before anything else, before any law or movement or rally, you need to know this about me. I'm Leo's dad, and I miss my little boy more than I can ever express. On June 20th of 2024, my little boy Leo passed away because our system had a gap big enough for a child to fall through. Leo was only 3. He loved Spider-Man, Sonic, Minecraft, Ninja Turtles, and he was my little superhero. He was silly, he was smart, and he was full of love. I stand before you today not as a politician, not as an expert, but as a father who had to bury my child, asking you to close that gap forever. That is why Leo's Law exists. It is simple. Leo's Law would require fentanyl testing if it is involved or suspected in a DHS case. For whenever there is concerns for a child's well-being, without delay, we're trying to cut through a lot of the loopholes. This law is not about punishment. It's about protecting children, and it's about preventing the next tragedy before it happens. It is about to make sure no child in Oklahoma is ever placed in danger because we were too afraid to require accountability from adults. To our lawmakers in this room, you have the power to stop the next funeral. You have the power to save the next child before it's too late. And you have the power to make sure that what happened to my son Leo and to so many other babies on these posters, these are all babies that passed away from fentanyl exposures. It's a problem, guys. Babies. The stigma is not real, okay? Not just drug addicts are dying from fentanyl. Little innocent babies are. Sorry. But to the citizens of Oklahoma, your voice matters. Your calls matter. Your support matters. This law will save lives, but only if we demand it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake, and thank you to Jake's assistants. Emery Frazier, come on up. Emery.
Hi, my name is Emery Frazier. I'm here with my school, I Believe Learners Academy. Today, I would like to talk about something that affects every student in Oklahoma and across the states. Our teachers. Teachers are the people who spend every day helping us learn, grow, and become the leaders of tomorrow. But the truth is, many teachers are being treated unfair, and that's hurting our schools. I'm here today to ask for change and for a bill to be passed that supports better pay and higher certification standards for our teachers. Point A, teacher pay in Oklahoma. In the state of Oklahoma, teacher pay is so low that honestly it's embarrassing and demeaning that such important workers still earn below par salaries. Teachers deserve kindness, and the current standards are making it exceedingly hard. Because of this, we're seeing our schools cripple at our feet. It's affecting all schools across America. Point B, our teachers are leaving their jobs. Many teachers are being forced to relocate just so they can have a sustainable life. It's preposterous that they can't support their family with the resources they're given here. That's not right. I read from the National Education Association, NEA, that around 40% of teachers have to work extra jobs just to make ends meet. Imagine teaching all day, dealing with students, some who can be verbally rude, let alone the ones that are physically rude, and then having to leave another job at night. It's exhausting, and they still don't get paid enough. Our teachers deserve better. Point C, hiring uncertified teachers. Because so many teachers are leaving and school administrators are getting desperate to fill the positions. This has led to more uncertified or underqualified teachers being hired. According to Texas Tech University, led by Dr. Jacob Kirksley, students who had new uncertified teachers lost an average of 4 months of learning and reading and 3 months in math. That's a huge loss. This isn't just happening in Texas. It affects all of us when schools don't have the staff they need. I even once had a teacher who wasn't properly licensed. She had a college degree but not the right certification, and that caused problems for me later on. There's also a lot more stress on teachers because of student behavior. A recent RAND survey in June 2024 said that 39% of teachers listed low pay is one of their top sources of stress, and about 7% of teachers planned to leave their jobs by the end of 2023 and 2024 school year. Almost half the teachers who quit between 2020 and 2025 said low pay was the major reason, along with burnout and lack of support. How can we expect our schools to be successful if our teachers are stressed out, underpaid, and leaving? Conclusion A, call for action. I'm only 11 years old, but even I can see this is a serious problem. Teachers are the backbone of our future. Without strong, qualified, and supported teachers, students cannot succeed. That's why today I'm asking for lawmakers to pass a bill that will 1, raise teachers' salaries, 2, require proper certification for all teachers, 3, provide better support so teachers can stay in the profession, and 4, make sure every student receives high quality education they deserve. We need to show teachers that we value them if we want a strong future. We must start by supporting the people who guide us every day. Thanks you so much for listening to my speech.
All right, Emery. Next up, we've got Omar Malakzada. And just so you know, I already can tell that each of your students is going to need to turn these into editorials for the paper because they're ready and we need to hear them. Come on up, Omar. Just set the mic. Yeah, just set it and then you can leave it. Just leave it there. Yeah, just let go of it. You can just let go of it.
Okay. My name is Omar and I'm 9 years old. I'm here because I want to talk about something that is really important, like kids like me. Recess time. Right now, public schools give kids 20 to 30 minutes outside, but I believe we should have 50 minutes of recess. For all students, boys and girls, boys often have more energy and studies. Boys can have 39% more energy than girls, but honestly, all kids need time to run and play and get energy out. When we have enough time to play, we come back inside ready to focus, learn, and behave better. Longer recess would help every student, not just boys, to do better in school. In my old school, I got to 20 minutes to play. I felt sad because it wasn't enough time to play with my friends. I wanted 50 minutes so I could play tag and other games with everyone. When recess ended too soon, it felt like we didn't even get to finish having fun before we had to go back inside. That's why I'm asking you to please help make recess longer in public schools. Kids need time to move, play, and be kids. It's help our body, our brains, and our hearts. If you let this law pass, kids like me will be happy with this law. Every kid in Oklahoma will have time to enjoy more time outside with everyone in their school.
Thank you, Omar. Next up, we have Amir. He's ready. I can tell he is. Excellent. You guys are doing awesome.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amir, and hello, everyone, and thank you for listening to me today. I want to talk about something very important: how we take care of our grandparents and older people. Our community, we should not have the elderly living in bad conditions. They deserve safe, comfortable, and happy place to live. I think we should create nice apartments for grandmothers and grandfathers to the apartment the apartment should be a little big so they can move around easily. In the building, there should be a cafeteria in the first floor where someone makes lunch and dinner for them. They should also have a gym so they can exercise and stay healthy, and even a pool so they can swim in the summer. There should be a bus that takes them to places like the market or the zoo, because some of them can't walk far or travel on their own. Some older people can't talk properly, so it would help if they all had cell phones to call their kids or family when they need help. They should also have enough money, maybe even 20,000 a year, so they can buy the food and things they need. This the this the Oklahoma uh, this place is too rich to have this much poor people. My school oh my school went to a place to give out groceries, and what we saw was very sad. Some people couldn't afford food and they were hungry. Some couldn't even stand up properly. No one should have to live like that. Ex- wait. Especially our elders, how worked hard their whole life. I hope we can make changes so all older people can live with joy and happiness.
Thank you so much. Fabulous. Next up, we're going to hear from Emmanuel Spriggs. Emmanuel, come on down. If people start applauding in the middle of your speech, that's a good thing, y'all. Okay, just so you know.
Hello, my name is Emmanuel. All right. This bill, I would like to say something. For the past 50 years, our country has made tremendous progress on women's rights. That's great because women deserve equal opportunities also. But men need a little more. Oh, just wait. We cannot forget about men. Men has been number one in high school dropouts, deaths, and also suicides. This is not something we should overlook. I know I seem crazy because men fill the majority of important positions, but the average male is most likely working a 9 to 5 or is struggling financially. That is why this bill will bring back classes like wood shop and auto tech. This bill will help more males in schools and classes, more males role models and teachers, more job programs for males so they can also have money and support their family, then have more money, more successful life. And also it will make sure that lights are in the highway. If there are no lights in the hallway, it makes Oklahoma look like a small town instead of a growing modern championship city that we all know and love. This bill I'm asking you to support with a future where both boys and girls have the same opportunities that they need for a safer city.
Great job, Emmanuel. Aliyah? Elijah, sorry. I didn't see all the letters here. You're welcome to introduce yourself so that you can correct the record.
Good afternoon, and thank you for giving me the chance to speak today. My name is Elijah, and I'm 11 years old. I want to share an idea that I believe could help both families and farmers. I think we should create a program that provides healthy foods like fresh fruits, vegetables, grains, and proteins for free or at low cost. This would make it easier for families to choose healthier foods, even when money is tight. And it would also help our farmers by giving them more places to sell what they grow and making sure their food goes to the people who need it most. Today, I want to talk about how food additives and preservatives, the chemicals they add to packaged food to make them last longer, look better, or taste stronger. I know some additives are helpful, but they keep food from spoiling and make them safer to eat. But I've learned that a lot of foods use too many artificial additives, and that makes people, including me, worried. Many packaged foods have long lists of chemicals like sodium nitrogen, sugar substitutes, high fructose corn syrup, artificial flavorings, potassium bromate, BHT, carrageenan, trans fat, titanium dioxide, and xanthium gum. These ingredients can change how food tastes, look, or feel. But when kids like me see a long, confusing label filled with words we can't even pronounce, we start wondering, why is all this needed, and whether it's simpler, healthier options are possible. These additives also can change how the texture of food is, making things stay soft or smooth in ways that don't feel natural. But none of these ingredients make food healthier. And when we eat too much processed food, we miss out on the real fresh foods our body needs. So what I'm asking you to do is please make our food labels clearer and easier for families to understand. Please encourage companies to use fewer unnecessary chemicals in our food. Please help schools and communities get more fresh, healthy food options. And please support programs that give family free or low cost healthy foods. And also help make healthy food more affordable than unhealthy food so families can make better choices and farmers can succeed too. Thank you for listening. I may be only 11, but if the leaders like you take action, you can help the future be healthier for all of us.
Thank you so much, fabulous students. I am blown away. Really appreciate you. Next up, Jasrana Smith. Oh, here you are. Please introduce yourself if I've done a bad job.
No, you've done a great job. Thank you so much. My name is Jasrana Smith, and this is Antoinette Jones and Courtney Jackson. And I first want to say thank you all for giving us this space and opportunity, because grassroots organizing and advocacy work is what we do at the Julius Jones Institute. And so today, which is November the 18th, if you all remember, in 2021, on this exact date, 4 years ago, this Capitol was full of advocates advocating for Julius Jones's life. And it took all of Oklahomans, children walking out of school, over 6.3 million people signing a petition to save one man's life. And we came within 3 hours of losing Julius Darius Jones. No family, no sister, no mother, no father, no brother should have to endure that. So we are asking and speaking about accountability today. We feel that Oklahomans deserve accountability, especially when it comes to someone's life. And so that is why we're here today. Wrongful convictions impact Oklahomans of every race. Curtis McCarty, who spent 21 years on death row, Michelle Murphy, who spent 20 years wrongfully incarcerated, were both exonerated. This issue affects all of us. And we also cannot ignore what we just witnessed last week with Tremaine Wood, coming within minutes. So imagine the torture of being on death watch for 7 days. Julius Darius Jones was on death watch for 38 days, which he was put on death watch early. So they put you on death watch so you don't kill yourself so they can kill you. So make that make sense. Where is the accountability? Why should we have to wait until 10:04 a.m. for someone to decide whether or not if someone's life is valuable enough to save? If you already know you're going to save that life, why put the family through that torture? Why put that person through that torture?
And so Oklahoma wrongful convictions are not hypothetical. We rank 10th per capita in the nation. We have had 45 exonerations in this state since 1989, and 16 of them came from Tulsa County alone. And in more than half of these cases, official misconduct played a role. So when we talk about official misconduct, we talk about prosecuting attorneys, prosecutorial misconduct, things that are not being revealed, jurors that are harassed for not wanting to go along with everyone else. So those are the types of things that we are asking the state of Oklahoma to be accountable for. Oklahoma does not have an independent, trusted structure to review questionable convictions before irreversible harm occurs. And so a conviction integrity unit would be that structure. And if you all recall, Representative Kevin McDougal back in 2021 introduced House Bill 1551, which was going to be housed under the Pardon and Parole Board, but which they did not want that to happen, and so it didn't make it to the floor. So I'm going to wrap this up. There has been successful states, Utah, Texas, Philadelphia, that have been able to implement this successfully and save money for the state of Oklahoma, and for us not to get it wrong and to potentially kill someone behind a decision whether or not we don't have the evidence. So today we stand here for you, for those that don't have a voice, for the families that just endured what Tremaine Wood's family has endured, for families like Antoinette Jones, who has endured this for 26 years, and for Julius Darius Jones, who is still incarcerated, still not free, and still fighting for his freedom. We ask for Oklahoma to be held accountable for these types of things when there's questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We're proud that Representative Ellen Hefner is here. Give a wave. Give a wave. From Oklahoma City. I'm really appreciative of the members who were able to make some time to be here and listen. Sandra Valentine is up next. Sandra Valentine, come on down.
Good evening. My name is Sandra Valentine. I'm a mother of 5, a grandmother of 6, 4 of which have disabilities. I'm also an early childhood educator, so I teach children how to read for a living. Science of reading, dyslexia, phonics, structured literacy instruction, all the buzzwords right now, but what do they really mean? Science of reading is a broad term describing all the components that should be taught in reading. Basically, the why we do it. Structured literacy instruction is the how we do all of these components. Dyslexia is a specific learning disability that deals with the language centers of the brain. A person who has dyslexia may have trouble decoding words, spelling words, reading fluently, and/or comprehending. Several programs around the U.S. are structured literacy, science of reading-based programs. A training center exists right here in Oklahoma City that trains parents and teachers in a whole class structured literacy. The training they provide goes one step further and trains teachers to become dyslexia therapists. It is an intense 2-year program that costs about $8,000 just for one teacher. At one time, grants were available to teachers. That is no longer the case. Oklahoma currently has 275 members of the Academic Language Therapy Association. Of those, 250 are certified academic language therapists or CALTs. This is the highest level of certification one can receive anywhere in the country to serve dyslexic students. And we have that training center right here in Oklahoma City. With literacy at the forefront of this legislative season, 2 things stand out. Oklahoma must have more highly trained professionals at the practitioner and therapy levels to serve our struggling students. My class alone has 10 students with dyslexia. Funding must be an allotted priority for these trainings. Oklahoma cannot compete without true ongoing investments in literacy. Our Oklahoma students deserve this. This is urgent. This is foundational, and literacy should not be, or should be, a non-negotiable. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sandra. Ryan Carter, come on up, Ryan. Oh, great. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ryan Carter. I am a social worker. I work at Hope Community Services and Intensive Outpatient Services. First, I want to thank you, Senator Kurt, for what you've been doing with Senate Bill 275 and the Oklahoma Workforce Housing Commission. It gives me a lot of hope. I want to talk about minimum wage. Oklahoma's minimum wage is the definition of exploitation. We have so many people that are basically working under slave wages. Minimum wage has not changed in 16 years. I was 16 years ago, so I wasn't paying bills or rent, but I am pretty sure that the cost of living has increased since then. And $7.25 an hour just it doesn't do it. I know people argue all the time that if we raise minimum wage, inflation, things are going to cost more. Prices are already raising. And at the end of the day, my clients, almost all of my clients are unhoused. If they're not unhoused, they're about to be unhoused. And they are working so hard. Some are working up to 3 jobs and can still barely afford to pay their rent. If they even can. It is absolutely necessary that we raise minimum wage in Oklahoma in order to take care of all Oklahomans. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ryan. Next up, Phil Downey. Phil Downey.
Hi, my name is Phil. I go to Oasis Clubhouse. I've been there a year now. It's the greatest place for starting a career or starting your life back over. They're taught professionally. Everything is great for me there. They helped me get out of a hole that they wouldn't let me in the hospital because I was certain addict, and I wasn't able to be able to go in there. So I had to lie to him and say that I was going to go hurt myself if I didn't make it out to the street, if I didn't make it into this place. And so I had to go to the rehabilitation is what I'm on subject. I'm sorry. But for them to let me in, I had to have a good reason to be there. So I did have a good reason. I needed to be in there, and finally I got in there, and I'm out today, and I'm in my sobriety. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Phil. Dana? Come down. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dana Stenaris. I am from Broken Arrow. I moved there a year ago, and I'm a little nervous, so I've lost my notes. But I would like to talk about something that I think is going to affect everyone in this room, and that is Oklahoma's fast-tracking data centers. They're coming to your neighborhoods. They're going to drain resources from Oklahoma, the state, and it's going to affect our water supply and our energy costs. Not only that, we don't have the research. We don't have the research on how it will affect long-term our pollution, our environment, our health, and these are being put in areas where kids work and play and in neighborhoods. So I just want to give you a couple of things that I did write down before my time is up. But in 2023, U.S. data centers alone used 176 terawatts hours of electricity. That is the equivalent of powering 16 million homes for an entire year. And where do you think that these energy grids that need to be built to support that kind of energy use, who do you think are paying for those grids? It's coming out of our electric bills. Secondly, the water usage. NPR reports that large data centers can consume 5 million gallons per day. This is equivalent to water use of a town of 10,000 to 50,000 people. Our water will become a scarce resource for us. This will affect agriculture. It will affect our jobs because AI is supposed to be taking over 30% of jobs by the year 2030, according to some statistics. So I just wanted to bring this to the forefront. I would like to see some research before these are all rolled out. I'd like to see some mandatory research and data that will help us make better decisions for our people of Oklahoma. Thank you.
Thank you, Dana. I appreciate you coming from Broken Arrow. We really need a prize for the people who came the farthest, don't we? You think you came the farthest? We'll see. She came further? I've got to look your town up, then I'll know. All right. I'm so glad that next we have Sarah Myers Compton. Sarah, come on up. Former constituent, so I haven't seen her in a long time.
Wow, what an amazing group of humans in this room, right? Wow. Children, you're just everything, you know, you're the future. Good stuff going on. All right, well, I am Sarah Myers Compton. I was born and raised here in Oklahoma. That's what I like to call it, people who ask me where I'm from. I was the unicorn of Oklahoma, like many of you, a Democrat raised in a very conservative state. I know many of you know what I'm talking about. It's good times. I am the daughter of Donna Compton, who has done peace and justice and social action work here in this state since I was in diapers, and I have been in attendance for that long as well, helping her where I could. Let's see, she ran for Congress back in the 80s against Mickey Edwards. So if you recognize her and her name, hi, good to see you. That's my mama. I'm a single mom. I work 3 jobs. I'm a data analyst for the University of Oklahoma. I also teach 2 courses as an adjunct professor. And I recently quit a part-time gig at Skechers so I could come and do more of this kind of thing. So I do understand the struggles that many of our fellow Oklahomans are facing today. I'm currently serving on several boards. OakAir is the Oklahoma Association of Institutional Researchers. I also serve on the board for Oklahoma Higher Education Super Conference, which this year pulled together the first ever super organizational conference of all of the, not all, many of the state organizations in higher education here in the city. I'm telling you those things not to brag, but to let you know I'm doing the work to get visible because there are some things that matter to me. I'm here today as a member of the Oklahoma Peace House Board. I don't know if any of you have heard of the Peace House. That's with Nathaniel Batchelder, Robin Lemon Sellers, Donna Compton, Mary Thomas, and others. And I asked them if I could come here with permission to present this action to you. So I have first to tell you about this action, and then I will tell you what the ask is legislatively after that. The action is called the True American Patriot Walkout. We, the working class Americans, are done with political theater. We see our nation dissolving into a third world country, and we mean to stop it. This isn't a Republican thing. It's not a Democrat thing. It's an American thing, and we're done. The greedy have dug too deep into the goodwill and stellar work ethic of the American people. We demand that elected officials and those seeking to become elected officials adopt the Great American Compact below and work quickly to implement its demands. If you choose to continue to ignore us, America quits. During the first week of school in August of 2026 all over the country, hardworking Americans are going on silent strike. There will be no one to receive your children at daycare, public schools, or on college campuses. There will be no one showing up to cook pizzas, tacos, and hamburgers. No one will be there to stock your shelves, run your warehouses, or drive your trucks. No one will make your coffee, drive you to work, or clean your office. Pay attention. Do the right thing. Do it now. For decades now, we have waited while you toyed with our survival, deciding if we were worth living wages. The American dream was to have a thriving wage, to have a good life, but it has diminished from having one good job that provides a nice home with enough left over to enjoy life, to working multiple jobs to scrape together enough to afford a 2-bedroom apartment in the cheapest part of town. The system is broken. You've murdered the dream. We are done. That's my time. I've emailed to you, Senator Kurt, a list of demands. If I might go just briefly over to say a few of those. Okay. Some of the things we're talking about. The working class demands that you make our tax dollars work harder for the greater good of the American people. We've watched as you diverted our money into corporate and our small interest groups, and we're done with that. We cannot continue to pay for health care for those people who are uninsured via our health insurance premiums. We love all the people, but we're crippling under the weight of that reality. The workday and the hours of primary education need to align more closely. Companies demand production from approximately 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., and yet we know our primary schools start around 8 and end around 3. That puts Americans in a terrible position. It has to be fixed. Yeah. So this is all put into an email which I already sent. This is complicated, and I know that, and I understand that writing legislation for such lofty things is difficult. But that is not my area of expertise. That's yours, and so I put it to you. We all know we're struggling with all of these things. We get sidetracked and fight about stuff that we have to quit fighting about. Make the laws on the stuff that makes sense. Quit Trojan horsing each other with addendums and all the dumb stuff you're doing in the political theater. Make some things right, the things that are easy. We beseech you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Jason Musgrove. Jason Musgrove, step right up.
Hello. Good evening. My name is Jason Musgrove. I serve as the Public Policy Coordinator for NAMI Oklahoma. Our role is to advocate for a mental health system that works for every Oklahomans, families, youth, veterans, people in crisis, and the providers who serve them. Tonight, I want to briefly outline the most urgent mental health priorities heading into the upcoming legislative session. Number one, sustainable 988 funding. 988 has transformed crisis response in our state. We now answer more than 90% of calls in the state, connecting Oklahomans directly to crisis counselors who understand local resources, and we are saving lives every single day. But our current funding ends at the close of June 2026. If we do not create a sustainable funding source, whether through a small phone fee or a targeted appropriation, we risk longer wait times, fewer crisis services, and more calls being sent out of state. Second, funding restoration for nonprofits. Nonprofits are often the first to respond when Oklahomans need housing support, crisis diversion, peer mentors, family education, or local outreach, especially in rural areas. Contract reductions have forced many organizations to cut back on services, and when nonprofits lose funding, people don't just stop needing help, they just lose access to it. Restoring key contracts strengthens prevention, reduces crisis episodes, and supports the community partners who do the work the state cannot do alone. Third, investment in inpatient infrastructure. Oklahoma's inpatient system is overwhelmed and aging. People in crisis are waiting days or even weeks for a bed. Competency restoration backlogs are burdening jails, courts, and hospitals. Emergency rooms are boarding psychiatric patients because there is nowhere else for them to go. This is the costliest and least efficient way to run a system. Fourth, mental health workforce investment. Hilarious. Can't read. None of these improvements matter without the workforce to deliver them. Oklahoma has one of the most severe behavioral health workforce shortages in the nation. Clinicians, crisis responders, psychiatrists, peers, and social workers. If we want 988 inpatient care, crisis teams, and CCBHCs to function, we must invest in the people doing the work. Loan repayment, paid internships, rural incentives, and workforce pipelines will keep talent in Oklahoma and create long-term stability. And finally, reinvestment in CCBHCs. Oklahoma's certified community behavioral health clinics are one of our greatest recent successes. They provide same-day access, crisis care, and coordinated whole-person treatment. Many rely on federal SAMHSA grants that will not last forever, as we have seen from the last few months. We need a state funding strategy to sustain and expand these clinics so families do not lose access to a model that is proven to work. These priorities, 988 nonprofit restoration, inpatient capacity, workforce investment, and CCBHT sustainability form a connected system that keeps Oklahomans safe, reduces strain on public services, and ensures people get help when they need it. Thank you so much.
I was trained to speak in public by Elizabeth, so.
Jason is being competitive about the clock. We'll let him be competitive. Kim Nixon. Kim's up next.
Hi, my name is Kim Nixon, and I'm a NAMI volunteer and family trainer for over 10 years. And this kind of follows in what Jason was saying. I'm here for advocating for caregivers of mentally ill. It's so frustrating when a mentally ill person gets treatment, they're being treated on what their reality is. Well, their reality is not real. It's real to them. And my personal experience, I've been taking care of a young woman. She's 24 with bipolar since May. She went missing for a week. We could not find where she was at. We thought she was dead, but I'm not allowed information because I'm not a blood relative. She was admitted to the hospital for a week. I called every day for the week saying, hey, listen, when she's on her meds, she does well. When she gets off her meds, she doesn't do well. It's a simple, put her back on her meds. A week later after that, she was inpatient for 3 weeks at Oakwood Springs, and then a week in St. Anthony's. And then she went to the Norman Crisis Center for a week. This is all in a 2.5 month span. I feel like if the information that I had was given, she might have not had to go to all those hospitalizations. But it seems like, we advocate to parents and say, hey, listen, you're allowed to give information to the doctors, to the therapists, to whoever, but they're not receptive to it. They don't want to hear it. They're treating, and right now, this young lady is working with Red Rock at their FACT team, and I thought I was going to cry today because I had just had such a bad experience with them today. And I said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I can't fight the system anymore. I have information. She lives with me. I know her symptoms. You guys don't want to hear it. You're treating her. You're taking her off meds. She doesn't sleep at night. You're taking her off her night meds. It's insane. And I said, I just can't do it anymore. It's a huge problem. And I think it's going to save money in the long run. We could have avoided all these hospitalizations. I may be wrong, but it worked in the past. I've known her since she's 16 years old. She doesn't have any family. They wash their hands of her, and in the classes, I've talked to thousands of people over 10 years. That's the same story. And it's a simple fix. Doesn't cost anything. We should be able to do like a third-party affidavit that follows them. So that's, I had all this stuff here, but that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you very much. Eileen Miller. Eileen's up next.
Hello, everyone. My name is Eileen Miller, and that's a good act to follow there because the same situation is continuous in the life of someone with mental illness. We as caregivers, my son is here. He was Philip. He told you a little bit about an experience of trying to get off of some very evil drugs that he was addicted to. And it took literally a year of battling back and forth of trying to get him the help that he needed. There are so few state agencies that can help someone who is addicted. They put them in for 4 to 5 days. They get them off of the drugs. Then there's nothing but outpatient. Inpatient is almost non-existent. In my college days, I worked for Central State Griffin Memorial Hospital, and it was better then than it is now. It shouldn't be. We have more and more people who are experiencing mental illness. Their parents are helping to take care of them. We're helping to feed him, house him. He's getting some assistance. He has been on disability for years. His illness has gone on for 30 years now. And he is at poverty level. His housing, there is not enough housing. I think truly there are better ways that someone who is fairly highly functional, that can actually live on their own, but they're lonely, they isolate, all they have sometimes is family. And this is why you see homeless. I would say 90% of the people on the streets that are homeless are mentally ill because they can't navigate the system. If he didn't have the system, if he didn't have the help from us to navigate the system, he would be on the street, literally. And mental illness is so hard on the families, they can't sometimes live with them. And that person doesn't want to live with their family either. So dignity is practically non-existent. There are places now like Oasis, the biggest godsend ever. But when they're not there, then the burden falls on the ones who are taking care of them. So I am 30 seconds left. I am appealing for stronger legislation to help the mentally ill with housing. There are sober living houses. Why aren't there housing for people that are in that gap of they're functional enough, but they really can't even hold down a job? So I thank you very much for your time and appreciate it.
Thank you, Eileen. Carla? Carla? Carla, are you on the opposite side? There you are. Come on up.
Good evening. My name is Carla Carlock, and that last name is my married name. My parents didn't pick that, but I'm going to speak from my heart. I didn't bring notes. I didn't even know I was going to be here today, but this is my daughter, Rain. She's forever 19, and I'm going to just share her story with you. We were a military family. We moved around every 2 years. My husband was an officer in the Army, and so each time we moved, it got more difficult for her to deal with, just having to make new friends. But she was trying, and she was a freshman in college at Cameron University studying, majoring in early childhood education. And she called me on a Friday night and said, "Mom, I'm not doing very good. I need to get back into counseling and get back on medication." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll call on Monday." And she said, "Okay, I have an assignment due by midnight, but I love you and I'll talk to you tomorrow." And I said, "Rain, God loves you and has big plans for your life. And one day you're going to be a great teacher." And then I got a call that they found her dead in bed the next day with her schoolwork still open on her computer and her dog beside her in bed. And I felt like I lied to her because she's gone. So I met with Joe Young, and we've been working on House Bill 1484, which is Rain's law, and it would require fentanyl education in grades 6 through 12 And it would just make also Red Ribbon Week where they would talk about it. Because right now, when I called Oklahoma City Schools, they said they didn't have, they didn't really talk about fentanyl poisoning in Red Ribbon Week. But the night Rain passed away, she Googled, what does a generic Xanax look like? So she wasn't sure, but it looked real. So that one mistake cost her life. And I want kids to know that it's so important that if you're going through something, you don't reach out to friends. You don't, you have to get something from a doctor. And I think kids think it looks real. It looks like a pill and it's not a drug, but it is. And they just really need that education to make good decisions because my daughter doesn't have that chance. And since I told her she was going to be a teacher one day, this is the only way I know to make that happen. And it was they didn't hear it on the first session, but I'm hoping that this time around that they will listen and it will pass because I don't want another parent in these shoes. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much, Carla. Malika Chatman. Hey, excellent. Come on down.
I'm presenting this on behalf of an incarcerated citizen. And I'm going to read it. It's a letter, so I'm going to read it as it's him. So, my name is Maurice Poole, and although I can't stand before you in person today, I speak to you from inside an Oklahoma correctional facility where I'm serving a life sentence for felony murder. I will not be eligible for parole until 2038. I say this not for sympathy, but for transparency. I'm someone who has lived the consequences of my worst decisions, but I've also spent years working to repair what I can, to change and to serve others. So during my incarceration, I founded the first NAACP prison charter in the state of Oklahoma. I did this because I believe in responsibility, in community leadership, and in the principle that every human being, no matter their past, can grow into someone better. I've watched countless men transform their lives through education, accountability, and service. I've seen rehabilitation with my own eyes. And that is why I'm asking you today to support House Bill 1968, a bill to increase the salaries of the Oklahoma Pardon and Parole Board. I know this may not be a bill that draws headlines, but it is one that strengthens justice. The Pardon and Parole Board is responsible for one of the most important decisions the state of Oklahoma makes. That's determining when a person has truly changed and when they can safely return to their community. These decisions require wisdom, experience, emotional resilience, and the ability to assess a human life beyond a case number. They carry the weight of public safety, accountability, and redemption. Yet, we expect board members to shoulder this tremendous responsibility with compensation that does not match the importance or difficulty of their work. In fact, we have already lost highly qualified talent such as Tom Bates, a seasoned public servant, has retired from his position as executive director of the board. So he noted that the current pay for board members was still too low, even as he called for an increase from about $22,000 to close to $50,000. His departure sends a clear message. When compensation is out of step, we lose experienced leadership, and that weakens the whole system. So House Bill 1968 or 1968 is not about being lenient. It is about being responsible, also about ensuring the people who make life-changing decisions that affect victims' families and the future of public safety are supported, respected, and able to fully commit the task. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for carrying his story here for us. Anne Marie Beer, come on up. Great, come on up, Anne Marie.
Thank you very much, Senator Kirk, for leading us through this. My name is Anne Marie Beer. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I have a lot of topics to talk about. I'm going to go as fast as I can. Protecting Northeast Oklahoma health, water, and future are extremely important to me. To protect public health, straighten oversight of industrial operations, and restore Northeast Oklahoma's air, water, and river systems while supporting responsible long-term economic growth. These challenges in Northeast Oklahoma are home to vital industries, but recent events highlight the need for stronger safeguards to ensure community and environmental well-being. Refinery and waste energy concerns, HF Sinclair and Reworld Cravanta facilities have experienced repeated emission issues, fires, explosions, and environmental violations. Public health impacts. Residents near industrial corridors face higher risks of asthma, cancer, and other polluted related illnesses. Water strains, adding data centers that use millions of gallons of water daily add pressure during our systems during a drought. Medical waste risks, improperly treated pharmaceutical or biohazard waste poses threats to the air that we breathe, the waterways, and public safety. Degradation of the Arkansas River and many of our waterways have been contaminated with sediment and polluted runoff that are harming the river's ecological health. For a positive, forward-focused policy solution, we need to strengthen air and water protections by modern fence line air quality monitoring for refineries and waste energy plants, independent wastewater sampling for high-impact facilities, required reporting after fires, explosions, or major emissions event, and smart buffer zones to protect neighborhoods. I also suggest that promote industrial accountability penalties appropriately scaled to companies' revenue to reduce repeated violations, enforcement for falsified or incomplete data, improper ash handling, or untreated medical waste. A public dashboard tracking these emissions, water use, and safety performance. No tax credits to these companies that are not in full compliance with state requirements. We need to protect our water resources, water efficiency or waterless cooling requirements for new data centers, water use caps during drought for large industrial users, strong oversight of medical and pharmaceutical waste disposal, stormwater capture systems to reduce pollution entering into our waterways, independent hydrology and sediment studies to guide restoration, unified funding from the state, federal, and industrial partners, riparian buffers and constructed wetlands to naturally filter runoff and enforce pollution barriers along river tributaries. Why this matters? Because it ensures clean air and clean water for almost 500,000 residents in Northeast Oklahoma. It reduces toxic exposures linked to asthma, cancer, and cardiovascular disease. It protects water security in Northeast Oklahoma as it grows and new industries arrive. It helps prevent disasters like prolonged industrial fires and chemical emission. Supports recreation, wildlife habitat, and riverfront economic development. Key positive messages: industrial safety improvements benefit businesses and communities. Health protections are practical, measurable, and achievable. Waterway restoration creates new economic and recreational opportunities. Water conservation today ensures resilience during future droughts. No NDAs. Transparency builds trust and strengthens relationships among residents, industry, and government. In closing, Oklahomans deserve clean air, clean water, safe neighborhoods, and outdoor spaces. By embracing stronger oversight, transparent reporting, and proactive investment in water and river restoration, we can protect public health and build thriving, sustainable future for generations to come. Thank you. Without these considerations, what will our future be? Thank you.
Thank you, Anne Marie. I want to give you all an opportunity. If you're on the benches, those are the least comfortable seats in the room. You're welcome to fill in the other seats at the tables. Just so you know, the senators get the cushy seats, of course, and you could sit in the senators' spots if you want. Up next, we have Tara Curran. Tara, come on up.
Good evening. My name is Tara Curran, and I'm a survivor of domestic violence. On March 11th of 2022, as I was leaving my job at Integris, I was ambushed, assaulted, and shot 8 times by a former boyfriend. We all know that leaving is the most dangerous time in a domestic violence situation, and that 114 people lose their lives to domestic violence every year. I'm not saying that we want to infringe on your rights to own a firearm. I myself am a firearm that I carry all the time. But what I am saying that no woman or man should have to look into the eyes of someone that they loved as they take their lives. I often think about these women in those moments, knowing firsthand how that felt. And I don't know if it sounds strange to say that I hope that it was quick, that they didn't even have the chance to think about what was happening to them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Debbie De Oliveira. Debbie, come on down. And you all are welcome to get a cup of water at the, if you see the pictures with the cups there, you're welcome. I need all the environmentalists to look away from the styrofoam cups. I'm sorry. We've tried to get them to change the kind of cups they use. We'll keep working on that.
Hi, I'm Debbie De Oliveira. I'm from Broken Arrow in Oklahoma. I'm a fairly new resident to this state. And one thing that I have seen recently that has made me very concerned is all these data centers and people who are signing non-disclosure agreements where the only people who have to be notified of changes in property use, let's say from farmland to industrial or light industrial, no one has to be notified. We don't know how much the water is going to be affected, the air is going to be affected, what it's going to do to the infrastructure of our neighborhoods, places where our children play, where we go to school, where we go to work, how we go to work. I think that the state needs to have more oversight. I think that we need to know what future plans of these companies are that are making these plans. I mean, they're doing things that we don't even know about because our property doesn't touch theirs. So I live a block away. I have no notice. The guy who lives, property touches that little bit, will find out that something is happening. So what do the rest of us have to do? I mean, I live in a very nice residential neighborhood. It's not the most expensive for sure, but we've worked hard to get there. And who knows what's going to happen when they finish all this complex that they're talking about. So I think we need more disclosure. We need to know what the long-term plans of companies are rather than just, oh yeah, okay, yeah. George has 1,000 acres and he decides to sell it. The rest of you can go jump in the lake if there's one clean enough to jump into. That's all I have to say, guys. Just think about what's happening in your communities, because if it's happening in Tulsa, but they don't have to notify Broken Arrow or Catoosa, who knows what our environment's going to be like down the road. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Debbie. Darren Blanchard, come on up.
Timekeeper, you can keep time, but I'm going to keep time myself, okay? Yes, no shenanigans here in the Oklahoma Democrats, right? My name is Darren Blanchard. I live in Mounds Creek County. I drove a 3+ hour round trip to deliver a 3-minute public comment, but I feel like my message needs to be heard in person. I am the grandson of a proud UAW retiree, so I am well ingrained to the ideas of the Party of Progress. I was caretaker for my grandparents, and now I'm in the process of starting a certified naturally grown produce farm to get locally sourced food into the farm to school program, to the Muskogee Creek Nation Food Bank, and a mom and pop grocery store in Beggs, Oklahoma, Okmulgee County. I've got one major problem with my planned future. I have a major albatross weighing over me in the form of a 1,500-mile high-voltage transmission line running from east central Colorado, going all the way through Oklahoma, ending up south of Little Rock, Arkansas. Everybody thinks this project went away because Governor Stitt said this was the idea of President Biden and the boogeyman Democrats. Fake news. This was Governor Stitt's idea. He asked the federal government to give $1 billion with a B to a multi-billion-dollar corporation in NextEra Energy. That project is still alive. It is still very alive. That money that Governor Stitt asked for to give to the multi-billion-dollar corporation would have ultimately been used for the eminent domain of people's private property. It's very unfortunate because this project and all of the related energy infrastructure is exclusively for data centers. We will be using eminent domain for data. Give me a physical break. These projects do not lower utility bills. That's fake news. In fact, they actually increase them dramatically. I know some of you have taken money from this company, and you should be ashamed of that. I've heard some of you say these projects drive rural economic development. That's fake news too. These projects reduce our capacity to produce food and strips our ability for future residential expansion. Because some of you have the hots for big tech, you have failed your constituents and the people of Oklahoma. I ask of you, the Oklahoma Democratic Party, to pioneer a message and actions that puts people over profits. Oklahoma has far too long been the other way around. This transmission line is a classic example. I ask for three things this upcoming session. Reform to eminent domain law, specifically targeted electric power transmission. I have Wisconsin Act 89 of 2003 as an example. Y'all are 20 plus years behind. I ask for the protection to ratepayers to shield us from utility increases due to the out of control data center developments. We are told by these companies that data centers do not influence electric rates. If that's true, then explain to me why Kansas and Michigan are moving forward with legislation to protect its ratepayers from surging utility bills. I have that here to provide for the record. Finally, I ask that you all co-sign a letter I have drafted that's under review by several members on the other side of the aisle, requesting the AG to redact a support letter in Stitt's application to the U.S. Department of Energy asking for that $1 billion transmission line. We, the people of Oklahoma, have the right to know who or what company supported this project. This redaction is not consistent with law. I wish to close by telling you there is a groundswell growing across not only this state, but across the country. If y'all want to start winning elections, be like Representative Clinton, who has demonstrated she has spine. Be like Representative McCain, who is in tune with the idea that God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we are to use them accordingly. In other words, y'all better wake up, because many of us in rural America feel like we're under attack.
Thank you, Darren. All right, we may have multiple people that need the prize for the longest drive. Thank you, Darren. Appreciate it. Great. Thank you, Darren. Next up, we've got Courtney Jackson. Courtney Jackson. Yeah, sure. Oh, you're on this list somewhere. Yeah.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Courtney Jackson. I'm the employment coordinator for the Oklahoma County Diversion Hub, and I serve on the advisory council for Impact 405.
I serve Oklahoma City as a workforce and job development advocate for people with criminal records. Every day, I work with, mentor, and rehabilitate justice-impacted Oklahomans who are fighting for the stability that employment and housing should be providing. I come to you both as a professional in this field and as someone who has personally lived through these barriers. I believe in a system and community where people are elevated by the work they are doing today, not defined forever by a mistake from their past. I believe in fair chances and equitable opportunities, not delayed rejections. And I believe that when Oklahomans are ready to work, ready to contribute, and ready to rebuild their lives, our systems should clear the path, not close the door. Employment and housing are the foundation for safer communities, stronger families, and a thriving state economy. When those opportunities are denied unfairly, the consequences ripple far beyond the individual. Each and every one of us feel the impact. Please understand that Ban the Box, Senate Bill 1077, was built on good intentions, but its promise has not translated into real results. It grants people access to jobs, but then strips back that opportunity away when the background check comes back. I know this from my research and from my own personal experience. I was hired multiple times because I was qualified, educated, and experienced. Employers praised my resume and professionalism and my skill set. I was transparent and honest in every interview about my past. Yet, after weeks of showing up early and performing well, I was fired the moment my background check came back. Not fired because I couldn't do the job, not fired because I violated a policy, but simply because Senate Bill 1077, Ban the Box, allowed it. But my story is not rare. 1.2 million Oklahomans have a criminal record, and that experience happens daily for thousands of Oklahomans. Senate Bill 1077, Ban the Box, gives hope and then replaces that hope with rejection. It is harmful, it is counterproductive, and it keeps our communities from moving forward. Our solution to this problem is to amend Senate Bill 1077 to remove or significantly narrow background check barriers for employment and housing, and include this amendment in the 2026 legislative session. We need our legislator support. We need policies that produce outcomes. So let's take action. I am respectfully and genuinely asking this body to amend Senate Bill 1077 to expand and strengthen Ban the Box so that it produces the outcomes it was intended to create. Oklahoma has a chance to be a state that rewards effort and positive change, a state that believes in redemption, a state that removes barriers instead of reinforcing them. I stand before you as proof that people can change, and as proof that the current system makes that change harder than it needs to be. Thank you for your time, your attention, and your commitment to building a more just Oklahoma.
Thank you. Cheryl Tobin. Cheryl, come on down. Cheryl, did I lose Cheryl? I'll double check later. Maybe. Charla Collins, come on down.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Charla Collins, and I am a community volunteer and an advocate. I work with a number of organizations. There are three things I wanted to bring up for possible brainstorming for changes that we need in our system. The first one is probably the easiest of the three. What the average taxpayer is unaware of is if your loved one goes missing, God forbid, okay? They could be sitting in the county jail and you wouldn't know it. They could be inpatient at Griff and you wouldn't know it, sitting at St. Anthony's. None of our systems talk with each other. And that's a huge problem. We have people that are currently listed as missing that are living in a group home. So I think that would be quick and easy to fix. The other, quick show of hands, anyone in the room ever given a homeless person a ride after them being inpatient at a mental health facility or hospital? Okay, so you might understand. I am on speed dial with Norman Regional right now. There's a number of people that put my number down as someone that they can count on. And I, at their beck and call, all hours of the night, like an Uber driver, picking up folks. What I can tell you, a sad reality, is that none of our shelters will accept anyone after 6 p.m. The winter shelter downtown, 400 beds. For the life of me, I'll never figure out why it's only open from November 1st to March 31st, because it's our largest shelter. Okay. But they lock their door and no one can leave or come in after 10 p.m. I've had people I go pick up at Norman Regional 10 o'clock at night. All the shelters will not allow them to come in. So when it gets to be 20 degrees, that's coming, right? And someone is discharged from one of our hospitals and they so happen not to have a residence and they can't go to the shelter. We are currently have encampments and tents outside, and any homeless, whatever else that they could do has all been banned. So in good conscience, I can't tell you how painful it was to pick up someone from Norman Regional who was there for possible kidney failure and given a bag of medications. I drove around for 6.5 hours to every one of our shelters. There was nowhere to take him, and I have a heart, so I couldn't leave that man out on a bench. So I sat and drove around until something opened for him. We need to change the law where no one can be discharged from a mental health facility or a hospital after 6 p.m. and before 6 a.m. Just called humanity. The third one, really quickly. Guardianships. And I know a couple of people have spoke on guardianships from NAMI. What a lot of people are unaware of is that, let's say you have a car accident, you have a brain injury, and you're not able to make decisions for yourself. As your mother, I can go and take medical records, meet with a judge on multiple occasions, and get guardianship to make decisions for you. However, all that work, all that time is not worth the ink that paper is printed on, because no one honors it. Not law enforcement, not our judges. I had a judge in Oklahoma County who issued the guardianship for my child. How I heard she had a hearing because she had been picked up, waiting for a mental health bed, sitting in the Oklahoma County jail for nearly a year. Calls me at 7:30 in the morning, screaming at the top of her lungs, "Hey, Mom, you have to come and get me now. They're going to kill me. They're taking me to the basement." Thank God I could hear the guy in the background, who was probably the guard, going, "Ma'am, you have court." That's the notice I got as her court order guardian, to go and sit at the courthouse for 6.5 hours. Against my wishes, that same judge let her go. I didn't hear from her for 4 months. The next call from her was a collect call from Los Angeles. She had hitchhiked, took a woman hostage with a knife to her throat. Now, as her mother, I'm not going to be liable. I did everything I possibly could. Would Oklahoma County, would their judges like to be liable? At what point are we going to start taking some of these critical decisions for our caregivers and their family members and thinking about what the consequences are going to be? Do you really want the Oklahoma taxpayers to be on the hook because a judge had a bad day and decided to release someone from the jail 2:30 in the morning after they had been there for a year waiting for a mental health bed? Where does it fall? That's something I would like for us to look into. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Charlie. All right, Judy may have had to leave. She was sitting right there, so she had to go. Okay.
Kay Sanders. Kay Sanders, come on down.
Hello, Kay Sanders from Enid, Oklahoma. And I too want to talk about wrongful convictions. I try to keep up on the legislation, and it gets harder and harder to interpret because everything is pursuant to this, and then you have to go look up some whole different other place to get a definition to come back to try. It's just like, what? I think it's like intentional, but maybe not. So in a state that has more wrongful convictions than most people realize, I think it's really sad that we allow, and I'm assuming from the information I have, it's the District Attorney's Council that suggests the legislation for the wrongful conviction or the Post-Conviction Procedure Act, which has basically shut the door on people being able to get relief if they are wrongfully convicted. And I understand from reading opinions and, seeing that people who were truly convicted of crimes, they have nothing better to do, and they do file these successive petitions, and it's timely, and that's good for that, but it has closed the door on wrongfully convicted people being able to get evidence together in time, hire experts, pay for experts. Poor people lose all the time. And who cares? Who cares? Let me jump around. So the Open Records Act seems to just get more convoluted and more convoluted. It seems to be rewritten in a way that protects the state. And now if you want to appeal, you have to, if I read this right, you have to notify the AG that you're going to appeal 10 days before you appeal. And then if you lose the appeal, then you have to pay for the state's attorney. What does that do? It encourages people not to try to get open records. Open records are public records. They should not be denied to save bad actors embarrassment. And that's what's happening all the time. I have a lot to say.
Thank you, Kay from Enid. Dr. Rogers, Cynthia Rogers. Cynthia? Oh, there she is. All right. This is going to be a unique challenge. Professors speaking in 3 minutes or less.
Yeah, I'd like a challenge. Yeah. So I'm an economics professor from OU, and I had a laundry list because all my friends from Norman gave me a list of things, but I'm going to pivot from that. And here's the deal. We have all these things that we know we need. We have programs that we know that work. We know we need mental health. We know we need more spending on education. We know we need, well, all the things. So where are we going to get the money? And I'm going to give you a solution. We've talked about this before. And here's the thing. We throw hundreds of millions of dollars each year. We throw at businesses on incentives. I know I was on the Incentive Evaluation Commission when it first started. And I will also tell you that there's no way to evaluate those programs properly because a business might get 3 or 4 or 5, or maybe 5 is the limit. They might have their hands into that many different programs. So you don't know if it's a quality jobs program or this other program that's really having an impact. And we never total up how much a single business gets. So my simple proposal is offer a buffet and a cap. Let them pick what they want. The money you save, because I promise you these programs aren't effective and there's no way to prove they are, the money you save we could be using on programs that we need, that we know are effective, that will help people get jobs, get housing, get an education. So that's my simple proposal. I had some specific proposal about tax increment financing. I'll leave that for another day because it's kind of late. Other than we should vote on that. Let's see. I wanted the restructuring of county commissioners. We need more than 3. We'll get better decision-making and maybe more transparency. I can't figure out Cleveland County, and I've tried. And I'm an economist. I know how to read stuff. Eminent domain needs to go away. We cannot be taking property from people in the guise of economic development when we're not thinking about economic development properly. It's not real estate development. It's community development, it's advancing the state. And we're doing that all over the place, whether it's the data centers, the OTA, or an arena in Norman. That's not economic development. Or whether it's a $1.2 billion thing in Marshall County that they're voting on right now. At least they got the vote. We could modify the Local Economic Development Act. I got that. To restate what qualifies as economic development. An empty piece of land, just putting something there is not economic development that's going to bring us progress to our state. Enterprise zones in 1990, they're probably ready to grow anyway. So we are throwing millions and billions of dollars at problems that we don't have. And I think if we rethought that, we would find the money to fund the things that we really need and know that works. I'll send you the other things later.
All right. Extra credit for the professor. Extra credit. Mackenzie Kalbeck, step right up.
Yeah. Please pardon me for bringing my whole laptop up here. I left my print off at home on the printer. Before I start, one thing I think is quite a pleasure is that throughout all of this, it's been lovely to hear how much public health is everywhere. So my name is Mackenzie Kalbeck. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the Executive and Policy Director for the Oklahoma Public Health Association. We are a statewide 501c3 nonpartisan nonprofit professional association that has spent the last few years growing both our organizations and the state field's capacity to engage in policymaking in the legislative process. Public health has been historically underengaged in policymaking, but we are working to change that. OPHA believes that all health is public health and has a broad policy agenda, which I can pass out some flyers in a minute. But there are several policies with recent interest from both the legislature and public health organizations that we work with that we'd like to highlight. I'd like to start with talking about tobacco control. With now more than 20 registered tobacco lobbyists roaming the Capitol, we have to stay on our toes. First, defending the independence of TSET's board is critically important. House Bill 2783 from this past spring is currently being litigated, but it is possible and more than likely that a joint resolution will be filed to create a state question and force a public vote to change the board appointment process. Next, Oklahoma does not have a vape or e-cigarette tax structure. So there is opportunity to create that not only as a deterrent for initiation or continued use, but also to generate and allocate additional funding for cessation and support funds. And it is very unlikely for the upcoming session, but repealing harmful preemption laws that have been on the books for decades would change the landscape for policy control and long-term population health outcomes here in the state. Thank you, members who have been dutifully filing and supporting versions of preemption repeal for as long as you've been here. There are 2 child health policies I'd like to point out. First, funding universal school meals seem like it could be within reach this session after former Superintendent Walter's mandate for universal school meals and amid healthy food interest from the Make America, Make Oklahoma Healthy Again movements. Second, I don't know if Mr. Omar is still here, but we got to listen to him. Passing a strong version of Representative Rosecrant's minimum daily recess legislation will allow children to move, play, be happy, and just be kids, just like he said. And then a few more, just a smattering of policies across various topics. Oh, okay. Laws to protect access to contraception and in vitro fertilization are needed as access to reproductive care continues to be vulnerable, debated, or eroded. Regarding housing, we really appreciate and applaud the growing interest in creating safe, affordable, and diverse housing through zoning and building code reform. As a few fellow speakers have mentioned earlier, data centers are being built across the state. Policy to manage excessive water use, power use, sound pollution, and more can be taken to enacted to protect families, towns, and ensure responsible industry growth. Next, decades of research show that harm reduction saves lives and provides substance users time to seek and sustain recovery. It will be critical to grow bipartisan support and pass legislation to extend next year's sunset for state harm reduction programming. And my last point is that we have to protect water fluoridation. Water fluoridation ensures all Oklahomans have some protection against cavities and tooth decay, regardless of their access to dental care, insurance coverage, or ability to perform oral health hygiene practices at home. Removing fluoridation will create a whole new array of oral health disparities for Oklahomans and also worsen health outcomes for other areas of the body, particularly heart health. Thank you very much for hosting this public forum, and thank you very much for the invitation. Cheers to public health. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have Audrey. Audrey? She is.
Hi, y'all. I'm Audrey DA. I live in Norman. I'm a junior at the University of Oklahoma. Mostly I want to talk about education. I will say tuition a little expensive. I would like to see it go down. I would like to see it not be raised every semester like it is basically. Because it is prohibitively expensive for many families already, and it gets more expensive every year, if not every semester. And I do not want higher education to become a thing that is only for the wealthy. Additionally, I know last year we removed the world language requirements for high schoolers. We are failing Oklahoma children by doing that. Just because the University of Oklahoma doesn't require that for admissions doesn't mean that the greatest schools in this country don't. Most of the California schools do. I know the Colorado schools do. You need 2 years of the same language in high school in order to get into these schools, which our children deserve to go to, deserve a chance to go to. Additionally, in my 12 years of English education, I learned less about how the English language works than I did in 2 years of okay high school German. Additionally, I have a unique opportunity to talk to new Oklahoma educators and students who want to become educators. They do not want to do it in Oklahoma. The teachers that I know hate their jobs, and it's not because of the children. They love their students. The administration works against them. They are afraid of losing their jobs because of our former state superintendent, and it is shameful that he was able to levy political power to remove teaching licenses, and that should not be able to happen, especially for these qualified teachers who want to educate our children because we are 50th in education or 49th, whatever, doesn't matter. Additionally, they do not receive, their salaries are poor. The debt repayment programs don't make up for that. We shouldn't have to choose between having careers that we love and paying back our student loans. Additionally, in schools, I know we talked about fentanyl education. We should also be teaching students how to use a Narcan. It is not drug paraphernalia. It saves lives. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Joe Young. Joe, come on down. My constituent. Yeah.
Thank you. My name is Joe Young, and on March 19th, 2022, my son went to his brother's house to watch the NCAA basketball tournament, and he never came back. He had taken a pill that had fentanyl. So yes, I'm another fentanyl parent, and I'm glad that I just followed the mention of Narcan. I'm here in support of Carla and HB 1484, Rain's Law, which is a simple, straightforward fentanyl education bill for 6 through 12. It has, and for those House members that are here, thank you. You've already passed it. It's been through Senate Ed. It's waiting to be scheduled for a floor vote on the Senate, which we hope to happen in the spring, of course. I do want to say something else while I still have some time. My thrust from now on is going to be prevention messaging. We have, of all the things we like to complain about in Oklahoma, we've got this unique organization called TSET. And what they do is constant, targeted messaging. And I was blown away to find out in 2024, TSET received 27,600 calls for smoking cessation. We can do the same thing with drug messaging. They will have to have somewhere to go, and it can't be for 5 days. And the intersection of the fentanyl crisis and mental health has been devastating to the entire country. Rain's story, I have other fentanyl fathers that I talk to just for support all the time across the country. Rain's story happens all over the country. Go online or a pill for anxiety. Never come down for breakfast the next morning. Jake's son, Leo, different scenario. We know that kids are going into homes that have fentanyl in them all over the country, and that tragedy has to stop. And there's also everything in between. Prevention messaging is a great way to start. We've been at the TSET has been here, I believe, in working since 2000. So it is a long game. So prevention medicine over and over. Home, school, church. Thank you.
Stephen Ellis, come right down.
After hearing all of the serious issues being discussed tonight, I feel like I shouldn't be bothering you with this. I'm only going to plead that I have the easiest solution for a problem. So this is your low-hanging fruit discussion. The Local Economic Development Act, which Dr. Rogers, I'm her acolyte, was discussing, has a really negative effect on Oklahoma school funding. So Oklahoma school funding, as the legislators probably know, but maybe other people don't, is a model for the nation. Each school district collects a set of state authorized property taxes in their own area, and then the state tops off those districts in the equalization program to achieve a certain level of funding per pupil throughout the state, which is actually pretty awesome. That funding is dependent upon the total resources available for education, so it's basically a fixed amount of money. The Local Economic Development Act allows localities to take areas and set aside all of the taxes, or at least some or all of the taxes in that area, and put them to economic development uses. As Dr. Rogers noted, they don't work very well, but further, that includes the school taxes. So school taxes are diverted from education to private industries for economic development purpose. That's a big problem. But worse, the way the Local Economic Development Act is written, the localities that adopt tax increment financing, which is the procedure here, they basically get to take all of the taxes out of out of the school funding system. So the school districts that have tax increment financing in their areas basically get to count the money they get from those areas as zero, which has the effect of spreading the pain across the entire state. So when Oklahoma City and Tulsa and Norman and other places adopt tax increment financing, Broken Arrow pays for it partly. So this is the easiest possible thing to solve. We can make the system more fair if we just don't allow tax increment financing to take education funding. That we should change the Local Development Act to guarantee that no school taxes get diverted to economic development programs. Easy peasy.
Thank you, Stephen. It's an important issue. Kathy Walker. Kathy. Hey, Kathy.
Hi, I'm Kathy Walker. I was a state employee for 26 years. I've been a member of the National Alliance for Mental Illness, NAMI, for 14 years. As a former state employee, I believe I have some insight into how state agencies operate. And as a mother of an adult with mental illness, and also as a legal secretary for a criminal defense lawyer who often has clients with mental illness, I believe I have some knowledge of mental health care needs in our state. So I have two proposals. First, I would like to propose more oversight of state agencies, especially ODMH SAS. I would like to see more transparency and accountability of all state agencies because we as taxpayers deserve to know how our money is being spent, both state and federal taxes. I believe a law needs to be passed to bring about more legislative oversight of state agencies' management of funds. Second, I would like to see the legislature repeal the laws that were passed in 2017, 2018, and 2019, which abolished the oversight boards of the largest state agencies and gave the governor alone the power to appoint heads of those agencies. One of those agencies was the Department of Mental Health, from which the governor removed Terry White, a very knowledgeable, capable, successful leader, and at least twice has put someone in that position who has had little experience, if any, with mental health and substance abuse services or with management of state agencies. Since then, we have seen misuse of funds, cutting 300 contracts with mental health and substance abuse care providers, failure to build the promised new behavioral health center, failure to provide required mental health care to Oklahoma inmates, and failure to provide other Oklahomans with living with mental illness, with mental health care services. I think the heads of our state agencies should be decided by boards made up of Oklahomans who have knowledge and experience in the services provided by those agencies, just as they were before Governor Stitt came into office. I believe the services provided by state agencies such as ODMH, SAS are important to all Oklahomans, and the proper management and functioning of these agencies is vital to the well-being of our state. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Next up, we've got Amy Cauldron. Amy, just stick it out with us. There she's here, yay.
Hey, hello. I'm Amy Cauldron, and I serve as the Director of Advocacy and Communication at Mental Health Association, Oklahoma. Last week, while at Oklahoma County Eviction Court, I watched a family on the brink of losing everything. It was two women, roommates, and they had 7 children between the two of them. They had fallen behind on their rent because of an issue with a disability payment, and because of the government shutdown, it had not been resolved quickly enough for them to catch up on their rent. I watched them plead with their landlord's attorney for more time. They were asking just for 24 hours. One of the roommates was getting paid the next day, and they felt that they could catch up. But every time they asked, the answer was the same. They should expect the sheriff to post a lockout notice on their door that afternoon, a Wednesday, and that they should be prepared to be locked out of their home by Friday, just 2 days later. I don't believe anyone in this home and anyone in this room could pack up their belongings, search for and secure new housing, move an entire household within 48 hours. And I'm certain that we would all find ourselves in a worse financial situation on Thursday or Friday than we are today when we factor in moving expenses, deposits, fees, and just the expense of replacing the belongings we didn't get to move with us. Yet this is what we ask Oklahoma families to do every single day. It is not a coincidence that Oklahoma ranks 50th in education, 46th in child well-being, and we are near the bottom in both physical and mental health outcomes, while also having the 6th highest eviction rate in the nation. Eviction is not an unfortunate side effect of these statistics. It is a driving force behind them. We can no longer point fingers at landlords, at their attorneys, or even out-of-state owners. They are operating exactly as the laws of the state allow them to operate. If we want different outcomes, we have to change the very system that they operate within. Today, I'm urging you to consider 3 practical, high-impact reforms. Extending the eviction timeline, we came so close. It would give families a realistic chance to secure rental assistance, find new housing, or make a safe plan. Increase Oklahoma's rock bottom eviction filing fees so court is no longer the cheapest and fastest rent collection tool, and allow certain eviction records to be sealed so that Oklahomans are not permanently barred from housing because of a single crisis in their lives. These changes will not burden our courts or our communities, they will strengthen them. They will prevent countless families from falling into homelessness, deepening poverty, and long-term instability. We can do better, and with your leadership, families can have a fair chance and not a 48-hour countdown. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Next up, Carrie Bloomert.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Bloomert, and I have the privilege of serving as CEO of Mental Health Association Oklahoma. There have been a lot of people who have spoken tonight about mental health, housing, eviction prevention, and that is the heart of what we do. We're a statewide nonprofit that provides mental health support and housing for adults and youth living with mental illness and adults and youth coming out of homelessness. I have 5 recommendations that I want to share with you tonight. You heard from my colleague, Amy Coldren, who talked about our work in eviction prevention, but I'm going to talk a little bit about our recommendations for mental health and housing. So the first recommendation is increase and protect funding for mental health and substance use disorder treatment. Thank you. Integrate mental health care into schools and primary care settings. Secure long-term funding for the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. And I want to thank Representative Arturo Alonso Sandoval for running your 988 bill last year. Thank you. Access to homeless shelters without barriers. We heard a woman share earlier about her struggle with getting someone into a homeless shelter. And evidence-based solutions that connect people with housing and services rather than jail or forced treatment. Thank you.
All right, we have 3 more fabulous speakers tonight. If you've made it this far, you can make it. Mario, are you here? Did I lose Mario? Mario Gonzalez? Do you have to go? We're not going to get to hear about AI. Okay, we have 2 fabulous speakers left. Megan, Grace, come on down.
Feel like I'm at an open mic. And all the comics left. I'm the last one. I'm here as a parent and also for one of our agencies for child support enforcement. My kids are adults now, but my ex-husband owes me over $120,000 in back child support. I've accepted I'm never going to see that. It's whatever. He was a contract worker. He knew the workaround. But I was appalled to find out in 2020 that our state legislator repealed Title 47, Oklahoma Statute Section 6-201.1 in 2020. That is, okay, this was blocked child support enforcement from revoking driver's license, which that was really the only time my ex-husband would throw a couple $100 was, oh, I'm going to lose my license. I can't drive my car. So taking that away, I understand because they thought, oh, it'll encourage compliance because the intent was to promote compliance for recognizing the need to go to work. But yeah, that doesn't seem to have the intended result, at least not in my personal experience. And the revocation of such enforcement or other remedies should be reevaluated as child support enforcement has been made toothless. Far too many children are not having their needs met, and the answer should not solely rely on inadequate public assistance. I'll barely survive raising my kids because there were Democratic policies that helped me. I got into a safe house. I was able to go to school. I was able to do better. Problem is my ex-husband not paying. I had to work more. I ended up working 60 hours a week. As a single mother with 3 children, all 2 years apart, they got into trouble. And this is where our system is broken and the support systems that are needed for the people that are trying to do it right. So I really wish that the legislature would allow to have the tools they need to ensure that enforcement is brought about, because that was the one thing that drove me nuts, was that I was the one that had to show up to child support enforcement hearings because my ex-husband wasn't paying because they wanted to help him not have to pay. And it was a constant fight of a threat of I'm going to lose daycare because I'm not providing information for my ex-husband that I didn't want to know where he was. He's a violent offender. If I dated a man like that, DHS would have took my kids away. So I really child support enforcement needs help. And I think that would really help a lot of people. Maybe get with some unemployment and offer solutions to where, hey, here's places to get a job and stuff. But that's right. Child support needs help, and so do parents. Oh, and I was going to say, if Republicans would approve that they're pro-life, they will help support solutions for this. So it's an easy bipartisan thing.
It's a pro-life issue. All right. If you have not spoken and thought that you were signed up to speak, come see me now. But if not, we're going to hear one last fabulous speaker. Caden, is that how you say your name? Caden's coming right up. Come on, Caden.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us on this fabulous night here at the state capitol, our most beautiful state capitol. My name is Caden Hill, and I stand before you not just as an advocate, but as a child who lost the most important person in my world far too early. When I was just 13 years old, my mom, Lauren Ashley Hill, passed away at the age of 34. She wasn't supposed to be a headline. She was supposed to be my mom, the person who taught me how to be brave, how to be kind, and how to hope. But fentanyl took her from me. Fentanyl doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care if you're a mother, a daughter, a friend, or a child who still needs their parent. It's a poison disguised as a drug, a threat so powerful that a dose size of a grain of salt can end your life. And right now our laws still treat it as just like it's any other substance that we have out there, not the national emergency that it really is. I'm here to help with Leo's Law to recognize that fentanyl is a poison and not an overdose. But on November 14th, Speaker of the House, Kyle Hilbert, announced Leo's Law. We saw all the crosses there, 1,200 of them, especially the baby's crosses in the front row. It showed how many families have been hurt. Leo's cross was one of them. That's why this law matters so much. I'm also here because I know that what real loss feels like. Since I lost my mom when I was 13, I stand here for Leo, for his dad, and for every family who has been through the pain like ours. And I've been working hard with Jacob to help make Leo's Law real, helping at events, carrying crosses, supporting families, and doing everything I can to fight for kids like Leo. I'm so proud to be a part of this. Leo's Law is for every child who never got the chance to grow up. It's for kids like Leo. And I'm here because I don't want to see any more crosses. Please help support Leo's Law. Do it for Leo. Do here for every kid who needs us, every parent, every child, every teenager. I don't care who it is. Please do it for them, for us, guys. Thank you for your time. I'm Caden Hill.
Thank you so much, Caden. It's a really powerful way to end the night. Now, I want to thank all of you who are here and those who had to leave. I totally understand. We will have to clear this room so that our staff that are helping us, but if you want to talk in the hall outside, you're welcome to. I really appreciate people being here. You are telling stories that matter and issues that matter, and we need to be focused on in this building. So we hope we hear from you more, and thank you.